Lunchtime.
I know. I'm aware of that.
I'm aware of that.
You're not going to pop up from that corner. You're like, hello and welcome to SBR Engineering.
Get each other up.
Seriously, boys, it's recording.
Please go out the car.
Hello, Stuart.
Hello, Jeremy.
I can't work in these conditions. I'll put you on the video and you'll be embarrassed. I'm filming. Right, okay. Let's start.
I'm going to pop up from this.
Hello and welcome to SBR Engineering, and today's video is about this. I'm here with Stuart, and I've known you for many years, been friends for many years, but I've actually only worked here with you for just over a year. And yeah, you said it was the longest year of your life, which I think is a good thing. And this car is a car that's been in the workshop since I've been here, and not a car I recognise, which has a petrol head all my life. I was a bit ashamed about. So today's video is going to be about this. This has got the coolest name I've ever known for a car. This is called a Bizzarrini, right?
Yeah, Bizzarrini.
A Bizzarrini. What's its full name?
This particular version.
Yeah.
This is a Bizzarrini 5300. This is a Strada version, which is the road version. But you know, the car itself's got an interesting history. It's done obviously bits of race stuff and everything else over the years. But yeah, definitely an interesting name for a car. And
so you tell me it's been pulled out of a garage, is that right? It's like not a barn finder, really. But
ironically, it was kind of a barn. But you know, you say that these days, and people have got different ideas of what a barn find is. That usually a lock up in North London. But this car we took out of a barn, which was an old aircraft hangar, and the customer had it stored there at a friend's house. He'd owned it since the mid-80s, the car, and it was together, but it'd been more of a parts bin. People had been throwing things in it relevant to the car, but it was pretty neglected. I think there's some pictures of it on our website actually, when we first got it.
We'll put them up, I think, yeah.
But yeah, it's been an on and off project, but this last year, when we moved workshops, we was asked to get it out, and we sort of, back on it now and getting it up and running. So
it's in here to be put together. That's what we're filming now, because it's starting to go together at quite a rate now, so I want to sort of document it as it is now. It's 1966.
66.
Bizzarrini is Italian.
Yep.
It's an Italian mate. American drivetrain, is it?
Yeah, Chevrolet engine. It's got the T5 box in this as well, which is the 4-speed, which is pretty much used on everything that was manual back in the day.
Back then, yeah. And the one thing that I didn't recognise the car from its shape, obviously, like I say, but the one thing that got me interested was the engine's position in the car. So when I first saw this, I assumed you guys had moved the engine as far back as possible, but you're telling me that is actually how they were from factory, this far back. In fact, so far back that the dashboard has got an inspection hatch.
Yeah, well, you can see there we've marked out this was the original dash, which the guy, funny enough, the customer still knows a couple of the guys in Italy. They sent it back and it corroded underneath all the lining. I think it's like a leather Alcantara sort of mix, which wasn't original.
Right.
So he had them repair it. But yeah, this panel here is going to end up cut out, and there's a removal panel to get to the distributor, which you can see is
tucked under there.
Tucked under there with a windscreen here.
Yeah, of course.
Limited access to get there. But yeah, no. For a lot of thought obviously went into putting the weight behind, the front axle, which is you see on front engine, V12s and things like that. Ferrari, they tend to go that weight distribution.
So V8 is standard. This V8, you tell me, is not the engine that will be used.
No, it's
in the
same
car.
Chevrolet engine, the same block and everything. This engine was, the customer's got a few other cars, and this was an engine that was hotted up for another car. Apparently, it's sort of circa 600, plus horsepower, which obviously we can't run in this car.
Okay.
As much as I think he's going to want to at some point.
Of course, yeah.
His plans to do, FIA events, so we've got to rebuild the car to that specification, which obviously this engine won't meet. But at the moment, it's serving, its purpose in giving us a place for the exhaust to mount, where the gear lever's coming through. So we had to redo the tunnel. It's actually a T10 gearbox, not a T5 gearbox. That's later.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah,
I'm sure we can cut that out.
No, but it is. they're all T numbered, their gearboxes. But yeah, no, it's
So it came to you in a decrepit state, shall we say. The chassis's been, I can see it's been repowder coated, repaired.
Yeah, so we changed quite a lot on it. David, who's working with us with the car,
looking busy at the back there.
Well, he ended up cutting most of the back end off because at some point in its life, someone had welded another sort of steel rear end on it to support the fiberglass body, which, when we started looking into it further, resembled nothing that ever left the Bizzarrini factory.
Ah, right, I see.
The car, we've got pictures of the chassis. It's the original chassis. We've added a roll cage to it, which obviously stiffens it up. When these cars are used for sort of track work or anything sort of motorsport, they do.
So that's something you've had done.
We've had to tile that in, because the rear end, they've made two types of this car. You have the independent rear suspension or a Dion axle. And these were prone to, if there was an accident, the back end used to part company with the rest of the car. So and that's happened, in recent racing with historics as well. So we've had to tie that cage in to support the back. So it's doing as much as it's protecting the.
I see. Right. Okay.
Occupants. It's holding the back end, reinforcing the rear end.
Yeah, and coming through then to the back end, the diff. What diff are they using these?
So it's a Jaguar diff. It's the earlier type to independent rear suspension cars. You've got Jaguar cars. It's the only thing at the back that isn't Bizzarrini. All the suspensions, their own. These uprights are their own. These are original cast uprights that they made for these. Where the front's got Jaguar independent suspension.
Right.
This Jaguar diff, which runs the inboard disc. A lot of people will be familiar with that disc setup. Obviously all the Jaguars use it.
Yeah.
All the kit car boys use those axles as well as a sort of cheaper option for IRS.
And this double wishbone, this is the standard setup that it had in the 60s.
Bizzarrini wishbones, that's what the independent rear cars.
It's nicely done, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one's on, are they Öhlins dampers?
Yeah, these have got an adjustable damper that we've put in there. We're allowed to use an adjustable damper with the car for these events, but some events will want an original damper in there. So at the moment, another thing that's sort of serving a purpose for
sort of mock-ups.
And like we're doing at the moment, David's doing. We're trying to do some measurements on that rear diff because we're not entirely happy with some of the pickup points on there for this diff carrier. The chassis is good, but the carrier itself.
Yeah, I see.
Changed around a little bit.
And stuff like the diff carriers had to be fabricated up, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's actually an original one which we've had new tubes welded in there. Structurally it's good. There were a couple of iffy bits on that one, but it's now usable. So we're using it just to mock this up, and then obviously that'll get powder coated and done at a later date.
Fine. And then this exhaust looks heavy duty, big diameter job coming up through into the boot floor.
Yeah, that's the routine. We've had to change quite a lot of the back of the car because obviously people want these cars to perform well by modern standards. So with the geometry and everything we're going to run on the car, it's running a little bit lower. So we've had to change where bits are coming through. This has got an option to run side pipes as well. So this whole rear section comes off, and they'll just kick out behind the doors.
It is tucked up high.
The original system wouldn't have been this big board. Wouldn't have been that big a board. All the calculations we've done with these headers and everything else, if you're running the full system, that's how we're going to
the size it needs. And just while I'm round about there, actually, I stood here with you the other day, looking down at that view from the back here with the big gearbox and the narrow footwells, and I said about the size of the car, the seals of the car. And I actually mistook, there's a wheel nut down there, and I mistook it for some sort of oil cap or something. And I said, what's that? And you said, that's a wheel nut. And I felt a bit of an idiot. And then you said, the fuel tanks on the original car were in these side pods, which I find terrifying.
A lot of cars run those, GT40s run bag tanks in the side, cars this sort of period, they run, they were looking at weight distribution, stuff like that. I mean, we've actually removed the tanks from the side now. We've still got the original tanks upstairs. These side panels now we're filled with expanding foam for the circuit, just gives a bit of, side impact protection.
And you'd fill from one side of the car, would you? And it would... Yes,
they were
one filler,
they were joined,
and they were linked, yeah.
But then what the cars, they also had a rear tank, and you'll see the tank, when we 3D scanned everything else, we made our tank a little bit taller than they had their tanks. So we didn't have to have the tank coming out into the wheel arches, because the tank originally went over the back and came out here.
Oh, right, yeah. So that's the plan for this one, is to have a rear tank sat above the diff area here.
The tank just here, yeah, we literally just moved it to do that, but David scanned the chassis, worked out what capacity we could get in there. And then these have a filler, the race versions, the filler's actually the Perspex rear screen goes down into the tank, and that's how they work.
And bodywork wise, there's quite a lot to do bodywork wise, isn't there?
There's a fair bit to do. Yeah, this is
it's all fiberglass, obviously.
It was a period body. They repaired. You'll see the joint line actually, where they cut bits out, and there's various little bits where you can see where they grafted things in. We've had to adjust it to make the screen fit, because obviously the original screen was no good. It was all delaminated, so we've got a new screen, but obviously that didn't fit. Obviously it didn't fit the body well, right? So we've had to do that. So
and you can still source bits like a windscreen.
Yeah,
for
there's
Bizzarrini.
There's a few companies doing bits for them now. The Mark's had a bit of a resurgence over the last sort of 5-10 years, which is good, because like yourself, not many people knew what Bizzarrini was. Bizzarrini worked for Ferrari. He designed the 250 GTO.
Right. Okay.
In Italy,
which is why actually it could look a bit similar from some angles.
Side profile has got that, the long nose, the way the lines follow the back. There's very similar there, but obviously he didn't go with making his own engine. Some of the Bizzarrinis use Lamborghini engines, rear engine stuff. There's lots of different versions.
And I noticed. It's like with the Lely, the ISO Lely we've got for sale currently. Italian design, so it looks great. American drivetrain, so you've got reliability.
They're pretty much bulletproof. Good power
engines,
easy to source parts.
Yeah.
Now even more so. And you say you've got the styling, you've got everything else, and you've got the sound. Who doesn't like a
absolutely
burbly V8?
And on those exhausts, it's going to sound mega. And with that sort of power. In a fiberglass car with largely tubular chassis construction, it's going to be light as well, surely. And
it's going to be not as light as you think, because obviously we've had a bit of steel in it. We're running a bit of a sweepstake at the moment, because when David's finished doing these bits and pieces and we've checked all our sort of points on the chassis, we are going to wheel it off and have a little weigh. Now we've got the engines, as the engine's only gone in recently to sort of offer stuff up. So,
and any guesses as to what it's going to weigh?
I'd like to think it was around the 1,200 kilo mark. Bizzarrini said these bodies in period were 40 kilos, which we still find very hard to believe, because we've lifted this body on off a few times and it's not 40 kilos.
Right, yeah.
But if it was, I think maybe the modern cars, the cars that are being made at the moment, their fiberglass is obviously modern construction. You can see the weave and the matting in the back of this. It's very much like an old Lotus, real heavy.
Yeah, it's very old school, isn't it?
It almost looks like a Hessian sack rather than fiberglass.
Yeah,
that they've done it with.
And so David's working away furiously on it as we speak, measuring stuff at the back there. What's next? What's next on the list to do?
So at the moment, we had a dummy sort of lay-in of the wiring loom last week, so we're happy with that. That will be sort of going in soon. Once we've tied all this stuff up, we will be getting brake systems in. Steering column's just been finished off. We've had to make our own steering column. We did source. We had the original column, but it looked like it had a repair at some point in its life, and we decided to make our own one there. Which is easy. Once again, David scanned that, and we put all the bearings and things we wanted to use in it. Everything it's like the cars. Nothing happens quite as quickly as you want it to.
No, of course.
As you said a minute ago, it's starting really coming together. Over the last few.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more bits turn up for it now in the workshop. That's why I thought we need to get this on video before it goes any further, and then maybe we could carry on doing some updates on it.
There's definitely more to come. Like we've spoken about before, although we do all these other cars. We do like a little bit of a project. This customer's got a few things that we look after, and we got a bit excited about being involved with it, to be honest. It's a shame it's taken as long as it has from the day we pulled it out of the barn, but
to get to here, that's cars for you and a busy workshop. And you touched on brakes a minute ago. What is the plan with the brakes? Are they just going to be like sort of your aftermarket?
So no, these are made. I mean, once again, you're under sort of FIA regulations with these. You know, you have to run a solid disc. They've got a Jaguar base caliper, like a Girling caliper. There is an option for different calipers, but they're quite hard to get hold of. This car, we've got the original magnesium calipers upstairs, but they're not a serviceable thing. You know, I think if we start pulling them apart, magnesium from 1966, I wouldn't want to trust it.
No, absolutely.
So yeah, we've got the brakes have just, well, we've got them here, they're on the bench. They've been made for us, the steel brakes, to the Bizzarrini spec. You know, once we've got all this stuff on, we can start plumbing those bits and pieces in. Wiring loom, it won't be a million miles away from plugging it in and
starting to starting to get some of it. Excellent. Okay, that's probably enough for now, don't you think? That's probably got us up to date as to where we are now. Going forward, I think the plan's going to be then to get the camera out and start documenting it coming together a bit.
Well, it's going to come apart again before it goes back together, because that's just the nature of building cars.
Of doing it, yeah.
But yeah, no, there's going to be more to see. Yeah, especially with the original engines. The original engine, you know, you can get some shots of that as well. It's got, you know, 4 Webers on.
Has it?
Yeah, so, and that looks quite impressive.
But that's set up for a
that's set up for like a 4-barrel car.
Yeah.
Which obviously, they did, as road cars, they did use them, to be fair. But the competition cars all used Webers.
Downdraft Webers, side draft.
Yeah, so the manifold crosses over.
So right. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it looks quite impressive. You know.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Probably, you know, from a power point of view, not the best, but that's what they ran in period. So you build your engine to that spec. You know, there's more power to be had, believe it or not, with a 4-barrel.
And the plans for the car then are going to be competition.
I think the customers looking at, you know, we used to race, you know, at quite a high level British GT. This guy, you know, he's getting a bit older now. He wants to do some like tour events. Wants to do some sort of historic racing. You know, he's had the thing such a long time.
It stays in your blood, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think he's not going to get away from it. So yeah, that's the thing. We're building it at the moment with a view to be a roadish race car.
Yeah, I see.
Which, you know, he's fully aware that a race car on the road isn't the easiest thing.
No.
We've seen that with Ferraris.
So when it's trimmed inside, is it going to be carpeted and stuff, or is it going to be quite raw?
We were talking about that the other day. I think it's going to be quite raw. I mean, we've got the original seats and everything else, which he's getting trimmed at the moment, because we're, you know, discussing the collar and working out seating positions, because the chassis doesn't lend itself to having much of an adjustable seat. So we've got to build it for the customer.
There's not much room in there, is there? No.
So there will be some, dare I say, creature comforts in there. It won't be out and out, you know, bare metal and just, you know, blunt edges. It's going to have some bits in there. A bit of a compromise, I think.
We'll see how that develops. Okay. We will end it there for the time being, and come back to it. The speed David's working at, it could be as quick as next week, surely. We'll come back to it in due course. I'll leave it in. Don't worry.
We'll leave it in.
We'll leave it in. It's natural.
We're past the point.
Yeah. We're not that professional. Okay, we'll leave it there. We'll come back to it with an update soon. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you soon.